A rich man laughed at a beggar's warning. Until the dream he mocked became a nightmare he couldn't escape. Kwabena shuffled through the narrow streets of Accra, barefooted, carrying nothing but the ragged cloth over his shoulder. The market was alive with the smells of fried plantains and roasted maize. Vendors shouted. Children ran. And David's mansion loomed high above, glimmering in the afternoon sun. Kwabena paused, rubbing his eyes. Last night's dream burned in his mind. A warning. A vision. A prophecy. He had seen David fall. Not in battle. Not by sickness. But by the very fortune he clung to so tightly. The gold. The jewelry. The power. All crumbling. Kwabena shook his head. Perhaps it's just a dream, he muttered to himself. But the feeling, the certainty. It would not leave him. He knew he had to speak to David. Warn him. They thought a beggar's dream was nothing. But what Kwabena saw could change a man's fate forever. If you want to see how David's fortune turns upside down, stay until the end. And don't forget to subscribe to the Story Baobab. David sat in his grand office, overlooking the bustling streets of Accra. He counted coins that already seemed heavier than they should. His laughter echoed through the high ceilings. Kwabena. That beggar. Huh. The man has nothing but dirt in his pockets. Why would I hit him? But the universe, it has a way of reminding the arrogant. Kwabena approached the gate of David's mansion the next morning. A servant tried to block him. Beggar, you cannot enter. I must see David, Kwabena said, voice calm but firm. It is urgent. His fortune, his life, it may depend on what I say. The servant laughed, shaking his head, but something in Kwabena's eyes made him step aside. He led Kwabena inside. David reclined in his velvet chair, sipping a glass of spiced palm wine. Kwabena, he said, amusement in his voice. You stand here, looking like you have news from the spirits. What nonsense do you bring today? Kwabena bowed slightly. Sir, I do not speak lightly. I have seen a dream, a warning of your downfall. Please, hear me. David chuckled, waving a hand dismissively. Dreams are for children and fools. I have gold, influence, power. No dream can touch me. Kwabena's jaw tightened. The fear in his heart wasn't for himself. It was for David, and for the pride that blinded him. The following days, Kwabena returned to the streets. He tried to warn David indirectly. Spoke to his servants. Left letters. But each time, David ignored him. Meanwhile, whispers began to stir in the marketplace. Some noticed Kwabena's persistent visits. Why does the beggar waste his time on that rich man? Others shrugged, dismissing it as madness. But Kwabena knew the truth. The dream was real. And David's arrogance was a storm waiting to break. One night, Kwabena could not sleep. He wandered the city, walking past the golden gates of David's mansion. He remembered his mother's words. The poor see what the rich refuse to acknowledge. Listen to the quiet ones, son. They hold the truth hidden from the loud. Kwabena closed his eyes, and the vision came again. David's house in flames. Servants screaming. Gold melting into ash. He knew he had to act before it was too late. The next morning, Kwabena found an opportunity. David was hosting a grand banquet. The streets were filled with carriages, traders, and curious onlookers. Kwabena slipped inside, blending with the crowds. He finally reached David. David, he whispered urgently. Listen to me now. I warned you before. Your wealth, your pride, it will be your ruin. David laughed, louder than before. Kwabena, your words are wind. I have everything the world can offer. Your dream cannot touch me. Kwabena did not flinch. I do not speak of wind. I speak of vision. Of faith. You can still choose humility, but time grows short. That night, as David slept, a strange calm settled over Accra. The city's usual hum seemed distant. A storm approached, though no one yet saw it. Kwabena prayed quietly under the stars, asking the ancestors for protection and guidance. He knew the moment was coming. And David, blinded by gold and greed, had no idea. Days passed. Small misfortunes began. A shipment of gold went missing. A trusted advisor betrayed him. The market prices fell overnight. David grew anxious. What trickery is this? He shouted to his servants. Who dares meddle with my fortune? Kwabena watched from afar, knowing the dream was unfolding as it had shown him. But he feared the destruction would be greater than David could endure. One evening, a fire broke out in the mansion. Smoke billowed, flames licking the golden gates. Servants ran screaming. David struggled to save his treasures. Kwabena arrived just in time. He guided the panicked servants and even David himself out of danger. David looked at Kwabena, breathing heavily, eyes wide with fear. You knew. You won me. Kwabena said nothing. Only shook his head. Gold cannot save you, David. Only humility and heart can. The fire consumed the mansion's treasure rooms, but lives were spared. David fell to his knees, tears streaming. For the first time, he saw what truly mattered. Kwabena knelt beside him. Do you understand now? He asked softly. True wealth isn't in gold. It's in kindness, respect, and the life you touch. David nodded slowly, humbled and shaken. News spread throughout Accra. The rich man who had laughed at a beggar's dream now walked humbly among the people. He helped rebuild homes, shared food with the hungry, learned the lessons that gold alone could never teach. Kwabena continued to wander the streets, silent and observant. He smiled quietly, knowing the dream had done its work. Weeks later, David invited Kwabena to sit with him, not as a beggar, but as an honored guest. Kwabena, he said, voice filled with genuine gratitude. You saved more than my wealth. You saved my soul. Kwabena shook his head humbly. It was never about you alone, David. True wealth belongs to those who give, not hoard. Remember that. David bowed his head, tears glistening. Never again will I forget. And so the story of Kwabena and David became a tale whispered through the streets of Accra. A lesson for young and old. Gold can shine. Power can dazzle. But true wealth lies in heart, in humility, in the lives we touch. This is the story Baobab. Because sometimes, the poorest eyes see the richest truths. If you believe in lessons from the heart, in courage, and in wisdom, subscribe now. And stay tuned for the next folktale, where the Baobab stories never end.